Welcome to Deals with Heels, where female entrepreneurs thrive. I'm Deborah.
And I'm Christina.
We are your hosts. Welcome.
Welcome.
So happy to be back.
I am happy to be back, and I'm so excited for this guest today.
I am too. You know, I'm always down to talk about marketing.
Well, and that's why.
Let's get into it. Our guest is Crystal Oakes. She is a dreamer, a thinker, a professional problem solver. She comes from a family of entrepreneurs and is passionate about educating small businesses and nonprofits about strategic marketing. As the founder and lead creative at Oakes Creative House, a boutique marketing agency based in Oklahoma, she taps into her creativity every day to help organizations with a wide range of marketing projects. Her professional experience includes graphic design, photography, branding, event planning, merchandising, and all things digital marketing, including social media, email marketing, and websites. Please welcome to Deals with Heels, Crystal Oakes. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes.
We are so excited to have, we've been having some great marketing guests and that specialize in lots of stuff that Christina and I don't talk about very often.
Yes. And you just are like the brand guru. Like I love that. So I thought, what better way than to talk about branding?
We definitely want to talk about branding. When I checked out your website and your portfolio, I was really impressed with, I could easily see your client's brand in the creative that you produce. And as someone who does strategic branding, it's often difficult when we outsource creative to them for them to really get it. And I was really impressed. I felt like you really do get it. And I want to get into that with you. But first, I'd love to hear, you know, we're so female entrepreneur empowerment based. And I love your story. Christina and I talked about it a little bit, and I'd love for you to share it with our audience as well.
Yeah, I would love to share my story. So, as you mentioned, I was raised by entrepreneurs. I have a lot of entrepreneurs in my family, including my sweet grandpa who passed away last year. He was a custom cabinet maker and known as a very amazing entrepreneur in our small town that we grew up in. And my mom owned a bakery for 20 years. You know, I grew up in that world, and it made sense for me to transition back to it when I left my corporate career. But let's go back to the corporate career for a minute, because my last corporate job, I did global branding. I was the global brand director for a nutritional supplement company called Trevo. And it was an amazing, incredible experience. When I graduated college with my graphic design degree, I thought, I want to work in a big office. I want to like have the corner office with the windows, and I want to have my team, and I want to be able to tell them what to do and direct everything. And I want to wear my pencil skirt, my 4-inch heels. I want to do the whole thing, right? And I literally was standing in my corner office one day, like, I freaking hate this. Like, this is not, I don't like this at all. This is not what I thought it would be. I don't know. It just didn't align with the lifestyle that I wanted to create. So when I left that company, I decided to strike out on my own. So I freelanced for about a year, doubled my corporate salary in my first year of freelancing. And from there have just continued to make strategic moves to create the boutique agency that we have now. And we do have quite a branding focus because that's my background. While we offer and do a lot of things under the marketing umbrella, branding, especially the visuals, are like such a big part of my heart.
Well, and like I said, I was impressed with it, and I really feel like it's something that it's hard for people to get a grasp of. You know, you can talk about what your brand is, but how do you represent loyalty visually? Those are really big creative steps, and I've really come into my creativity later in life. All of my creativity came out as creative problem solving and creative strategy and sales creative, but I didn't do the actual creative work myself. And software has gotten so much better that I've been able to, now I do all my own creative, and I don't have to be an actual graphic designer to do it. So it really, that part of it's helped me through being able to do it. But I mean, honestly, it's hard for even other graphic designers. One of my biggest frustrations over my whole career was trying to get that artist that I was working with to understand what that vision was. It was an incredibly frustrating experience for me, and it's gone now, and I feel so empowered by it. But I mean, I don't do all creative. I would need help with a lot of other things, and so it's your stuff is really, really, really impressive. And I'm losing track of what we're going to talk about. So I do think that Christina and I talk a lot about sales content. We see, I've worked always, my marketing corporate careers were always in high pressure sales industries. And so I'm very sales focused when it comes to even creative work. I have to kind of force myself to do the other stuff as opposed to that. So I just kind of want to hear how you visualize and think about branding and how you that process works really for you, I guess.
Yeah, I love that. For me, it is a lot about just getting to know the person and the company that I'm branding. And our target market is a lot of micro businesses, is like what I like to call them, less
Hmm.
than 5 employees. These are entrepreneurs who are pulling money out of their savings accounts and their pocketbooks in order to fund their business and to get it started. They have big dreams for what they're creating. And I think a lot of the branding conversation starts with listening. And it starts with really hearing them and trying not to just put your creative bias in the mix. It's really about saying, what is it that you are looking to build, right? We've had
Oh,
those
yes.
discussions.
We have had this discussion. I am so grateful to the both of y'all because my business would not be the way it is right now without both of y'all's. I've worked with you and I've got to work with you, and it is that, like, both of y'all have listened to me versus this is what we're going to do, and either you like it or you go somewhere else. But I think that that's what you capture so much with your branding is you actually do listen to your
Yeah,
client.
it makes a big difference, and I have experience running creative teams. And part of what I teach our younger designers is you have to understand where your client is coming from. You have to understand what's important to them. You have to understand that they may have a piece of a vision in their mind that we either need to latch onto and bring to life for them, or we at least need to show it to them. And we dive a lot into branding psychology and how people are processing looking at visuals in a couple different ways. One, just for the business owner themselves, in making sure if you've asked me for a specific drawing and a specific color, I'm going to show that to you, even though I'm going to say, I also created you
Yes.
this version over here because I tweaked it in several ways and I spun off of your original concept in order to enhance it and pull in some good design principles or even better understanding for your audience. So that's one thing we always try to do is, can I show them what's in their mind? That way that's out of their mind and it's now on paper and you're comparing that idea with other ideas. I feel like that makes a huge difference. But on the flip side of it, branding is really this push and pull between what you want as an owner, as a founder, as a visionary, and what your audience wants. And a lot of the times, the best brands that we create is that merriment between those two things. It's that sweet spot between that to where you now feel that you have a brand you're so proud of, you can promote every day, you can post all over your social media, you can sticker your car, whatever you want to do with it. But also, it's something that attracts that ideal client that you're looking for.
And it's legible, right? I mean, I meet with people and they love their logo. It's
Mm.
I love it. I love my logo. And it's completely unworkable. You can't use it without a white box around it. You can't read the name because the font's too faint and thin, or it's in cursive writing and no one under the age of 40 can read it, or all of those things. And it's hard to have that conversation with the
Mhm.
small business owner that I had to make some adjustments to your logo so that and the reason you have it is so people recognize it as you, and you can't even see it because it can't show through on any creative that we try to do. It's such a hard, but it is so important.
It is. It is so important. And, that's one of the reasons why earlier this year we hosted a Design Like the Pros workshop. And we helped business owners really see that there are some foundational design techniques that you can put into even what you're working on in Canva to make it better, to make it legible, to make it usable in multiple use cases. And that made a huge difference conference, and I've seen several of the attendees of that really elevate their
Yeah.
design that they're putting out. But there are those principles behind it. And one kind of message I really want to be able to say today is that we often get so bored with our brands, and so we're trying to push them to be more, to be more, to be more.
Mhm.
We also are often looking at things like a logo as an art project, like it would be a painting hung on a wall, right? Or an illustration or a t-shirt design. I can't even imagine how many people I have come to says, well, what'll that look like on a t-shirt? And I was like, oh, a t-shirt design is different than a logo design, right? And I trust the designers, right? Because there are some of those base principles that come into play to make sure it can be viewed this small on Instagram and this big on your billboard, and can also be shown in one color embroidery on your shirt. There are those principles that come into something like branding elements that are need to be considered.
I had this argument with a client, not really an argument, but a discussion because the creative that we were working on was very dark and we needed to white out his logo and just have it in white. And he hates that. He hates it in black and he hates it in white. And I'm like, well, you know what? I hate it when we can't see it.
If you can't see
The
it,
whole
what's the
why even put
point?
it on there?
Yeah.
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 It could be anybody's pool ad
Hmm.
because we can't see that it's your logo. And so I get it and we'll try to always use the one that you love, but ultimately I'm going to use the one that's going to work
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
do its job. And it's really difficult. I mean, I understand it's your brand. I don't want to produce something that you hate, but we
Hmm.
also have to take into consideration you have to see it.
Yeah. I'll
Well, the
never
way
forget. Oh, go ahead. I'll never forget when we were driving back from Florida a couple years ago. We drove past this billboard, and it's this guy, and he got a nice headshot. He's on the billboard. The colors were red. I mean, I can picture it in my mind. And it said, "Call us today," and then a small logo below it. And I immediately turned on Facebook Live and went on a rant because I was like, who am I calling?
Hmm.
Who am I calling? I can't read your business name, so I can't look you up on Google. There's no phone number, so I don't even know what it is that you do and why I would call you. So I mean, completely wasted amounts of billboard advertising because I would never call, or I mean, I wouldn't be able to even call because I don't know what company you are.
And, that's what I love about doing this and about being on this entrepreneurial journey is because I know that that is not my strong suit. And in the beginning, my son made my website and my son made my logo, my 16-year-old son. So it was that emotional attachment of it. And I feel so many people are like, well, it looks good to me. And but also y'all went to school for this. That's what y'all studied. Just like it's like asking y'all to come do organizing. It's not going to work in that same way. And I hope through this that more people understand that because in the beginning I didn't. What do you mean? I like it. So be it. But from an audience standpoint, like you said, I would have probably been the guy with the billboard with my headshot with the little
And we have done a lot of the whole kind of psychology. I do it with sales coaching, and we had a guest in episode 3. She does sales coaching with identifying buying personalities, and she does it from your online presence. So many times we don't get to meet somebody in person. And I could probably do it. Well, I could do it now because we had Nancy on, but if it was video, you can kind of get a better thing, but you don't get their setting. You don't see their desk. You don't see,
Mm-hmm.
you're seeing what they want you to see when you do their online presence. But it was an amazing thing to talk about. And I like to hear that about the kind of branding psychology and thinking that
Absolutely.
I'm all about research and efficiency and all of those things and bringing it back around to who are you trying to attract?
Mm-hmm.
What message are you saying to them? What platform are you saying it on? What price point are you pitching it at? And is that going to all come together in the right place?
Yeah. And branding psychology comes in a lot of different ways that people don't even realize because colors have meanings. You have certain
Yes.
feelings inside of you when you look at a certain color. That's just what it means. Green, prosperity. This is why it's my brand color. There's color psychology. There's even psychology behind what typefaces you're choosing. And a lot of people think I'm just picking it because it's pretty. And there really is that meaning between, does it look modern? Does it give off a traditional sense
Yeah,
and
the
feel?
comic, the
Yeah.
comedy little ones are
Yeah.
always, those are always so good too. You're exactly right. It's important to think of it in those terms. There's a reason all of the fast food places are red and yellow. It stimulates hunger, it makes you want to eat.
Hmm.
Those are great colors for in those fast food restaurants. I always liked green in my creative people offices when I ran marketing departments in corporate world too, because it stimulates creativity and
Hmm.
Mhm.
bright colors, has that all the sales offices are always bright colors because it keeps everybody upbeat when they've been kicked in the
Yes.
all day long and
Yeah.
doors shut in their faces and
Hmm.
all of that. But I love that. I haven't thought about that in a long time about the branding and colors and
And it's all kind of making sense to me because you've talked about cells and then your perspective on branding. And it's what I love about entrepreneurship is because truly, and especially women in general, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, but the education and actually talking to you like you're a human versus just a transaction and educating me on my brand, educating me on cells. And it really does go a long way.
it
It
does.
does.
And, entrepreneurs and small business people, you're good at what you do for your business. We're marketing people, so we're good at this. But you're a professional organizer and an ADHD coach, and that's what you're good at. The roofer, he's good at building roofs. And yet they oftentimes small businesses feel like, oh, I should be able to do this myself. On all the women in business threads, it's I don't want to hire anyone. I want somebody to tell me how to do it.
I don't
Well,
believe that anyone should do their own branding. I don't believe that I should do my own branding. It's something that you're too close to.
yeah.
It's like being your own therapist. I mean, you can't do that. You wouldn't have the perspective, right? And I feel that way with branding because I don't think anyone should do their own branding. I feel like you need that discussion, that push and pull, that questions, those things that really bring that brand to life. It takes that third party person
Collaboration,
collaboration.
right? You
Yep.
get all that going in there
Mhm.
because it's like Christina loves her stuff's gold and black. And I'm like, we need to pick another color because
Well, she just
gold.
did. It's coming out. I
Okay,
just got
good.
it
So,
yesterday.
because
So
because the gold, you just can't. It's got to be an accent because gold just doesn't look like gold unless it's an accent.
Mhm.
It's so hard
Mhm.
to get it right,
Mhm.
and then you think it's right, and then the registration on whatever device that it's
Mhm.
on makes it look like baby shit.
Mhm.
mhm.
And
Mhm.
so, guess I'm grateful that
Yes.
that's done. And then she picked like this dark purple, and I'm like, it's just gonna blend in with the black.
No.
Yep, she got it.
Not if
She
it's
got
used right. Not if
yes,
it's used
you're
right.
right. So, yes,
And
it's
that's
Fantastic.
another thing is like a lot of times entrepreneurs will hire someone to develop this beautiful brand for them, but then they don't think through or get any coaching or advice or templates made in order to put that brand into motion. And
yes.
that plays a huge difference in just how the brands are perceived out in the
I
public.
sometimes see them and I have a hard time connecting the brand with the individual in the business, and they paid a lot of money for that.
Mhm.
And that's why I liked your stuff, the creative that you made, your websites in particular, that I could tell it was authentic. We talk about this a lot. Authenticity is what success is made out of. That's why it comes in all different shapes, sizes, and colors, and races, and genders, and all of those things, because we can tell when somebody's faking it and it's not right. And I can tell when I can tell AI content, I can tell AI driven copy, I can tell all of those things. And I'm sure you can too. There's just something that's not quite authentic about it. And the general public can tell it. They don't know they can tell it. They can tell it.
Mhm.
And so what tips can you give our audience on maintaining that authenticity when they're creating their own content? Because they're going to create some of their own content always. And
Mhm.
those tips to being authentic to your brand, what can you leave us with our tips to jewels of knowledge that you have.
Yeah, I love that. It's actually easier than it seems in some ways. In principle, it's easier than it seems, but depends on the person how easy this would be for you. It all comes back to values. It all comes back to values. And when you know the values for, if you're building a personal brand for yourself, what are your values that you stay true to? When you know the values that your audience holds, when you know the values that your brand wants to emit, then you can create authenticity in everything that you put out, whether it's written content, whether it's sales
Mhm.
conversations, whether it's picking the right brand colors for you. There has to be that connection with your value base.
I love that.
Oh, yeah.
So we do a lot of, I mean, like, obviously our podcast, we're the brand of that. We build that brand. I'm very much the brand of my agency, and you are yours too. Yours has your name on it. And so how do you balance that? We discussed off camera earlier that the issue of when it's your own personal brand, that's a lot of attention geared at you too, and navigating that. How do you coach people through that when their personal identity is a pretty big part of the brand?
Yeah, I think we have to embrace that. I think we have to know that when we're building something up like this, that is going to be a part of it. And you think about referral based marketing, right? Word of mouth marketing.
Hmm.
You're going to refer somebody to me, not
Right.
necessarily to my company.
Right.
Right.
Mhm.
And that makes a huge difference in what you're doing. I mean, like I said, my mom owned a bakery for a very long time. And a lot of times it wasn't, we need the sugar shack to make our cake. It was, we need Kathy to make our cake. Right.
Hmm.
And
Mhm.
there is that personal element of what you're putting out into the world. And when you first start a business, that personal element is so much more attention than the business element. And then that starts to shift a little bit. That starts to flip flop a little bit to where your personal brand is downplayed a little bit. And then your company now has its own brand, its own recognition,
Its
its
own
own name for
legs.
itself, its
Grew
own
its own
legs.
legs
Exactly.
finally. Yep,
Exactly.
that's the
So I
old
It's
think
school.
walking.
Yes, that's
right?
the old school.
Yeah.
That brand finally got some legs.
Right. So
Um,
I think embracing it, owning it, and if you need coaching in that area, if you need someone to help you pick out your outfits, I always tell people when I first started doing my own brand shoots, photo shoots, I
mhm.
was so bougie about it. I would not do it until I had my makeup done, till I had new outfits and multiples to pick from, to where, I had a spray tan, to where I just had my nails done and my hair done. I'm a little less bougie about it now, but still, if that's what you need to do in order to feel confident in yourself,
Mhm.
that's what you should do.
100%.
Yes.
I spent way too long in corporate America. I don't feel worky if I don't dress up. I'm at home working in my home office, and I'm dressed up for work because what if I need to go talk to somebody? I don't want to have to stop, but if I don't do it first thing in the morning and I get sucked into work before I get now, I'm like, what am I going to do? I can't even make time for it now. It's the scheduling part of it gets me.
Oh, yes. That self-care gets you
I know.
sometimes on that end.
Yeah, I can go deep into my reserve tank and not know that I'm in it until it's too late. And then
Yes.
Christina gets on me for it like a good partner does. One of the things that I think about when we do branding, when that it used to not be a keyword, used to not be that catch thing that did everything. It actually started with image building first, but before that, we really talked about demand building. And I think branding has an element of that, right? Because part of demand building demand for people that letting them know they need organizing,
Right.
right? That you don't have to live in this mess and clutter and all of those things, or you need an ADHD coach. Building demand for that, but also building just demand as you as a provider of that. So that part of branding where it's also demand building and prepping them for when they pop into that directional advertising box of people that know they need your service now because they've been convinced.
Mhm.
If you've done your job branding, then they're going to remember the declutter queen, and that's what they're going to search for, or they're going to search for and see you in the search results and remember your name because you did a good job of branding. It's a big part of sales, and you don't think about it as that because of the branding doesn't sound like sales, but it's a critical part of it to fill up that box of people that are ready to buy your services. You want to be top of mind. You
Oh
want
yeah.
them to think about you so that either they recognize it or they
Well,
view through
and the
to your website directly.
yeah, and the current statistic right now is somebody needs to see your information 7 times before they take action on
See,
it.
I say my stuff and my research is actually 15 to 18 touch points
Wow. Mhm.
before they'll make a purchasing decision.
Mhm.
But touch points can come pretty quickly. They don't really see it
Yeah.
necessarily.
Mhm.
And things like networking,
Mhm.
little things count and add up to all of those too. But
Sure,
really,
sure.
when we get really deep into marketing strategy for sales, we're really looking at 15. I want
Yeah.
to see 15. And that could be a yard sign, a business call. I
Mhm.
mean, all of those things add up. But if they're really seeing it, 7. But so often they're not.
Yeah.
It's just flying by them.
Mhm.
But all of those little things make impressions.
So either way, no matter what the number is,
Mm
point being, if you have inconsistencies within your brand
hmm. Mm
and
hmm.
what you're
Mhm.
putting out, then they don't feel like they saw the same thing, right?
Right.
Or
They
they
feel
don't
like,
count it
yeah,
because
yeah,
they
it
didn't
doesn't even count.
recognize it
Yeah.
as you, right? I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah, those touch points.
Exactly.
It's important that it's cohesive,
Yes.
and I think if our viewers could look at their branding instead of this obscure abstract term that they don't understand, it's really branding you as the best provider of whatever the products and services are that you provide, and doing it consistently across all of your content on every platform. And that's what she does best. And it's easy to see if you check out her website.
Oh, yes. Speaking of your website, so we're coming to a close. What is one tip that you can give entrepreneurs in their branding? Like, what if it's just, okay, I'm getting started. What is the one thing that they can do?
Yeah, I love that. I would say it's better to be clear than catchy. So, whether that's with the words that you're using or even with the visuals that you're putting together, it is so much better to be clear than catchy. You have somebody's attention for a split second, and it is better to capture them, let them know exactly what you're about, let them know exactly what feeling they're going to get from working with you, and make that connection very quickly than to try to be so unique and different and so abstract or come up with something that you've never seen before, because that doesn't always translate into real life and how people interact with your brand.
And if
I,
you're going to get 3 seconds, you don't want it to be adjectives.
Hmm.
You don't want it to be flowery terminology or big. You're right. The cut through, get it out there at the beginning and
Hmm.
very clearly. People get so worried about making it sound a certain way, and it's not about that.
Hmm.
It's about clear, crisp, get that message across quickly, because they're not going to look at your stuff for very long. We wish they would.
well, it's an instant gratification. I mean, everybody, I mean, it's go, go, go. And so you got to catch their attention
Hmm.
I
fairly
mean, don't
quickly.
get wrong, the thinkers, they want more information, but they will find it because that's what they
Hmm.
do.
Mhm. They're the ones that will go to their
They
website
will
and read
go,
every
they will
page
remember.
and
Yeah.
yeah.
And I feel like there's a misconception a little bit between marketing and advertising. And what we see by the big brands is advertising. And it's
Yes.
what happened in Mad Men. It's what happened when you have millions of dollars to throw at your creative and you're thinking of these campaigns that are gonna go viral and are gonna be in every Vogue
Mhm.
magazine and all of those things. And that's creative marketing in some way. But really, that's advertising. And a
Yes.
lot of us as small businesses, we need blunt, to the point, clear and concise marketing messages. Here's what we do, here's how we do it, here's how you get in touch with us. And it can be as simple as that. We just tend to overcomplicate it.
Well, and hey, if y'all have a lot of money to throw around on a
I
frilly
mean, we'll
brand,
take it,
she
right?
and I will hook you up. We're marketing people. We can spend the cash, right?
Absolutely.
Well, it has been such a pleasure having you on the show and
Thank
hearing
you.
all about all the tips for branding. Such fantastic. I learned stuff. I know you learned stuff
Oh,
too.
yes. Oh, yes. Going
So
through
I'm
that whole process with her was really awesome.
Yes, I bet it was. I bet it was. And our audience, I am certain, will want to check out more information about you. How can they do that?
Yeah, so they can go to our website, oakscreativehouse.com, and that's OAKES. And we have free resources for entrepreneurs. We run a Facebook group for entrepreneurs. We're honestly here to help educate and just help in any way that we can.
That's fantastic. And the people you're around, the people you spend time with, that's who you become. It becomes part of you and part of your journey. And so spending time around people and learning their stuff on their website, I think is important
Oh,
on
yes.
who you choose to even learn from, I
Mhm.
think. So I hope everyone will check out Crystal's website. You can link to it from our show notes. You can link to Christina's website and mine as well. We'd love to hear feedback from you. You can email us always at deals@dealswithheels.com. You can check out our website at dealswithheels.com. And
We are
until
out.
next time,
We
we're
are
out.
out. Yes.